There we go. All right. Well, basically, what this training is designed for is basically just to go through and do the basics of kickoff, and to try to find out some of the best practices that some folks have used, and give some ideas of what makes a successful kickoff. And as we go through, if you've got any questions or anything and want to chime in or a thought, feel free to jump on there, and we'll go from there. But like I said, we'll go through this, and we'll talk about how to conduct a successful kickoff for popcorn and candy. All right. So the first thing, basically, there are, I would say, five major things that we want to talk about today. And one is just the steps for a successful kickoff, what we've got to do to prepare for one, what we've got to do, what type of materials, what types of things or things can we do to get prepared for it. I'm going to go over just a sample kickoff outline, and the sample kickoff outline that I'm going to talk about is also pulled out of the new kernel guidebook that folks should get in their packets, the new Scout or the new kernel packets, and just gives a sample idea of what to do. Talk a little bit about some of the things that have been successful for other units, and then talk a little bit about one of the pieces that's really important to kick off is how to teach the scouts a little bit about what we're going to do, so that when they go out, they feel comfortable in talking to folks, whether they're doing a show and sell, or whether they're doing a take order, or whether they're doing a combination of both. That there's a little bit of difference between each of those, and that's something that's really good to talk about at a kickoff, just so folks are aware of that and are comfortable with it. So I would say there are 6 steps, if you will, for a good, successful kickoff. I think the first and most important one is to make it fun. Is any kickoff I've been to, or for anything that's really, that really has stuck with me, is that it's been fun. Oftentimes I cite the example of when you go to a football game or a baseball game, and you get there, just having that music play in the background while people are warming up and getting ready to go, it sort of sets the atmosphere and makes it exciting. So that's actually one of the things we'll talk about. As I suggest, throw some music on, throw something fun on, just to make it fun. There's a number of different things. We'll talk about those here in just a minute of some other ideas that can make it fun. The second part of a successful kickoff is to invite all the families out, is to make sure that all the families have the opportunity to come out and hear the message. And I think it's important to invite not just the Scouts, but the families. So for Cub Scouts and for Boy Scouts, it's a little bit different. Sometimes when we launch for Boy Scouts, we're gearing more towards the Scouts themselves, but it's fun to have the families come out and participate, because if you're doing show and sell, or if you're doing sort of the wagon dragon or the door-to-door, parents and family are involved with the whole process as well. I think the third step is to share the plan. And then the fourth and fifth steps are engage the parents and engage the Scouts in that plan. And the sixth step, I think, is just as important as the first step, which is to make sure that you have fun during the kickoff. So getting to the kickoff itself, making it fun. So what are some great ways to make it fun? And one of the ways that I think sort of sets the mood right, especially for popcorn, is to provide popcorn or snacks at the beginning of the meeting. It's up to the pack or the troop as to how they want to provide snacks. But one of the things that we can do is that the council has a popcorn machine, and we have the oil and the kernels and everything like that to make the popcorn machine work, and of no cost to the units to use. So it's just a nice, fun thing to be able to do, is pop some fresh popcorn. You can smell the fresh popcorn as the guys get in there, and it really sets the mood right for a kickoff that involves popcorn. So I think that's a fun thing to do, and like I said, it's free of charge, and folks can coordinate that here through the office. There's the sign on the website, and you can borrow it, and we'll take care of all that and make those arrangements. The next thing is come up with some games, or do some activities that get the kids thinking about popcorn and candy. I know some people are real good song leaders. I know some packs that love to get up and lead songs, and there are songs that can be fun to go along with popcorn or candy. Some people like to do games. Some people are real creative with games. Sometimes it's maybe some challenges. It could be just anything that would be fun and engaging and hands-on. And if it's something that the parents and their siblings can be involved with too, it makes it all the more fun. I mentioned about playing music. I'm a big proponent of playing music. I think it sets the tone. I think it makes it fun. So I think that's a good thing to do. One that I think is fun too is just to be goofy. At one point in time, they gave out these popcorn hats, and popcorn kernels walked around with these big popcorn hats, and just for fun. But I think it's really sets the atmosphere right to be goofy and be able to have a good time. And the last thing is to do some decorations. So there in the popcorn packet, there's posters and there's some other things that you can set out. But if there's other things that you can decorate and get ready to go, whether it be some banners or maybe even have the scouts participate in making some kind of poster or something to go with it, would be great. It could be one of the opening activities, just to kind of get things rolling. So those are just some things, some ideas to make it fun, but it sets the atmosphere for the kickoff. We talked about inviting everyone, and there's a lot of different ways that we can do it. Some units do a real big kickoff and have all the popcorn there and give out popcorn for those guys who are doing the wagon dragging right there that night. Some folks do it early before the product even comes in, but it's important to make sure that everybody knows about the kickoff, whether it's inviting them face-to-face at a meeting, whether it's shooting out an email or shooting out a letter. I think email and Facebook posts and whether it be a tweet or whether it's be using the pack or unit website, those things are all great ways to engage the parents and let them know. I know with our kickoff we talked a little bit about communication and being able to make sure that everybody's on top of what's going on, and this would be a great opportunity if the pack doesn't or the troop doesn't have a good communication method with email. This would be a great opportunity to get one started for the purposes of the sale, just to keep everybody in the loop. There's a lot of things that happen in the popcorn and candy sale, whether it be when forms are due or whether incentive sheets are due, and it'd be good to just keep everybody in the loop. So the next step, is just keeping everybody invited or getting everyone invited and having them come out. The next part is sharing the plan. So for every successful campaign, we have to have a good plan. The unit at some point should have thought a little bit about what the goal for the sale will be and what they've done before. Whether you've done show and sells before, whether you've done take order, whether you've done all of it before, and say, here's what our plan is this year. This is what we're going to do. We're going to do these parts of the sale. We're going to do the whole sale. And sharing the plan with the parents and the scouts is important. It makes your job as a colonel so much easier. If you've got a bunch of kids that you're trying to track down sheets for incentives, or you've got them to track down the actual sheets to place the product order, it's a lot easier just to say up front, here's the timetable, here's what we're going to do, here's when we're going to have these things due, make sure you have them in. So making sure everybody's on the same page from the beginning is great. It's just a great way to work, and it hopefully will make your job as a colonel a lot easier. The next part is engaging the parents. So we talked about getting everyone there. We talked about communicating the plan. And communicating the plan is good for sharing that with both the scouts and the parents. It's good to let them know that the sale helps to make activities possible during the year. It helps to make getting the materials possible, or helps whatever it helps for your unit make possible. Making sure that folks know that that's where that money's going. Some units do it directly into scout accounts to help scouts go to camp. So there's so many different things, and it varies by unit to unit. It's important to make sure that those are communicated. We want to make sure we engage the parents right off the bat and make sure that they understand those aspects. They understand that maybe their dues are covered, or part of their dues are covered by participating in popcorn. It's good to go through the whole year of the program calendar. So sometimes I know some units use the popcorn kickoff as their kickoff for the fall, getting their scouts in and getting them engaged in what's going on, and telling them, hey, this is what's coming up. This is what we're doing the next 3 months. This is what we're doing the next 6 months, and share some of that and show how what's raised in popcorn can help get them there. And then the other part with engaging the parents is tell them how they can help. If you're trying to set up show and sells, some folks have better connections than others to get out there and set up a show and sell location. Telling them, small jobs too, like helping to go pick up the popcorn or distribute the popcorn, and engaging folks that way. There are some parents that are very eager to help, but don't know how, and aren't necessarily going to volunteer right off the bat without knowing what they can do. So I think it's always good to have, here's some things that we do, here's some things that we're going to need help with during the sale this year, and if you can volunteer to maybe give me an hour or 2 hours, or do this or do that, or come and do this show and sell, those things are great, and it takes some of the burden off of the colonel to have to coordinate all of that. Definitely engaging the parents is important, but also engaging the scouts. And I don't know that we would necessarily sit down and go through with the scouts, piece by piece. We're going to go to your books are going to be covered by you guys selling all of this popcorn and candy, but finding a way to engage the scouts. And I think some of the ways to engage the scouts are to talk about the activities and fun things that the unit's going to do during the year. Talk about prizes and incentives. We've got all kinds of prizes, whether it be just the Keller Prize program and those 14 prize levels, or the council programs, so like the filler sheets, or the $800 club, the $1,000 club, the $1,500 club, the $2,000 club. Being able to share those and get those scouts excited about those are great. The other thing is if the unit has their own incentives. If the kid who sells the most popcorn and candy gets to throw a pie at their parent, or gets to throw a pie at their cub master, or whatever it is, those are sort of a fun thing. Or the top seller, or the top den, or the top patrol gets a pizza party. Those are all fun incentives, don't cost a lot to do, but get the scouts excited about it. Another part for engaging the scouts is doing some role playing, doing some training, and we'll talk about that actually a little bit further down in the presentation. But there's some great ways to get the scouts rolling with going over some of that stuff at the actual kickoff and get them thinking about, how am I going to sell this popcorn? It's also good to engage the scouts with some safety tips. So definitely different safety tips. If you're going to be sitting in front of Walmart with a table versus if you're going to be going door to door, or if you're going to be selling online. So there are a variety of different things that we can share to make sure that our scouts are safe and our parents are aware of what needs to be safely done in order to engage our scouts in the whole sale. And then I think the slide talks a little bit more about doing some skits and fun activities, and definitely we'll talk about those as we go down. And I think the last part, like I said, the same thing as the first part, is have fun. And the colonel can be a tough job, but at the same time it can be a really, really fun job too. If the scouts are having fun and you're making it fun, the parents are having fun, then everybody has fun. And we think about what the long-term effects of it are. We have a really good popcorn and candy sale, and there's so many things that the pack can do throughout the year, and it may not be just the fun things that we're doing in the fall, but the fun things that we're going to do next summer and year-round. So next we've got a sample agenda, and the sample agenda basically we start with the pre-opening. So like I said, this agenda is in the new kernel packet, and when I share the PowerPoint, you'll be able to see that too. But basically, before the opening, before everything gets started, just review the agenda, make sure that you've got everything and everything is in good shape. We typically tell folks to keep the kickoff to no longer than an hour. We want to get people in there, excited, engaged, and then get them back out there. We don't want them to sit for an hour and a half, 2 hours. So unfortunately, the council kickoff is probably not a great example, because we try to pack all those things into one evening. But we for a unit level kickoff, we want to be able to keep that attention span and keep that excitement. So we try to keep it no longer than an hour. It's great to have snacks and things like that available as part of the opening. So, like I said, whether it's borrowing the popcorn maker and having popcorn made up before, or whether it's having a den bring in snacks, whichever works is great. But food attracts people and it gets people in the right mood. Some thoughts for decorations. I mentioned decorations before: balloons, banners, music, posters, things like that. All great things to have set up. And then it's great for someone there to be ready to greet and meet each of the parents and the scouts. So whether it's the colonel doing that, or whether it's the Cub Master or somebody else, just getting everybody there, welcoming them, and getting excited. So that's really sort of the pre-opening, getting everything ready to go before the actual kickoff starts. So then, the kickoff, I would start with some of the typical things that we would do, because it still is a scout meeting. So whether it's doing the Pledge of Allegiance, whether it's doing whether you're still doing the Cub Scout Promise, or now doing the Scout Law and the Scout Oath, do those as the opening, and then do a general welcome parents, and introduce people who are involved with the whole process. So if you've got some folks who handle the show and tell, or you've got some folks who are some of our seasoned veterans for popcorn that can come in, folks for parents, especially new parents, to be able to talk to. Doing all those introductions at the beginning is great. That way folks know who they're talking to and what they're doing. Some of the other things that you could do is if you're doing some activities beforehand, before the meeting starts, or if you're doing activities during the meeting, you can either introduce some of those. A neat idea that a unit did was they took a bag of popcorn kernels and they put it in a jar and said, guess how many popcorn kernels, and they had a prize for the scout who or family member that got the most, or got closest to it. So, those are some things to do. Some of those activities beforehand, or challenges, or things that you did as part of the pre-opening, do those results, or get them set up for those activities going throughout the rest of the evening. At this point, we would suggest then that we do this general opening, this general introduction, get everybody introduced, and then would split things off. One is send the scouts in one direction and send the parents in another. And we'll talk about what we do with the parents first. Definitely pulling the parents apart is going into some more in-depth pieces of the sale. Is how do we make the sale successful? What are the parts of the sale? And we'll run down those here in just a minute. The idea of trying to have one fundraiser, and we realize too, one fundraiser may be it's tough, to say, this is the only fundraiser that we're going to do for the whole year, and it's going to pay for the whole year of scouting. We have several units that have that ability. They do such a great job with their fundraising, doing just this one fundraiser, that they don't have to fundraise the whole rest of the year. But we also have units that like to do sort of a fundraiser of the month and are fundraising all the time. So the idea is that if we can make one real strong, successful fundraiser and get everybody behind it, then we don't have to do a fundraiser every month or every other month. Maybe we do 2 fundraisers or 3 fundraisers throughout the course of the year, and we can pay for everything. But again, being able to communicate what those dollars go to helps to get the parents a little bit of better buy-in into how things work. The next part with the parent meeting is definitely communicating the plan. So if we're going to do show and tell, we've set up at such and such a location on these nights, and we need parents to come out and be there with the scouts. What's expected of the parent who's there? What's expected of the scouts who are there? Communicating that. Show and deliver, or the Wagon Dragon program. If you're taking product out, how's that handled? If a parent does each scout get certain products and they take out, or do parents say, hey, we're going to take this and we're going to go try to sell this? Or if I run out of product, what do I do? How do I collect the money? Or if there's products there that people want, can we take order and say, we're going to bring, you ordered this product, or you ordered the candy product, and we're going to bring it back in November. So being able to go through that part of the plan. How do take orders work? When are the take orders due? And then how does the online program work? Is that there's the option to send popcorn anywhere in the country, have people order it from anywhere in the country, have it delivered right to their home, and how do you get in there and set that up? So that's sort of the idea, is being able to communicate the plan and be able to talk to each of the parents about how that works. The other part is the prize program. Like I said earlier, the prize program is really, really exciting, really probably more so for the Scouts, but I have seen some parents who were equally excited that their son had just won an iPad because they figured they were going to get a little bit of time on the iPad too. So I can see that prize program goes either way, but it's nice for parents to know that, hey, if my son fills a sheet, he's going to get this prize. If my son sells $60, he's going to get this prize. If he sells $600, he's going to get this prize. So it's nice to be able to that the parents understand some of that too. So those are some of the things that we recommend as far as the parent meeting. The next part would be bringing the Scouts back and having everybody there. Like I said before, it's important that the parents know about the incentives, the rewards, the prizes, but it's very, very important for the Scouts to know about those. So this is a great time for whether it be to show pictures or to share information, or if you've got a tent on display and say, hey, if you guys sell this much popcorn, you'll be eligible to win a tent. It may not be exactly like this, but you'll be able to have a tent. It's just trying to think about those things and get the Scouts excited about them. This also is a part where we want to go over some of the safety tips. So here's where we train if you're going to be at a show and sell. What are some of the things that you need to think about safety-wise? If you're out in front of Walmart, there's potentially a lot of traffic. We'll make sure that we do that. Making sure that Scouts aren't left alone, that they're there with parents the whole time, or that Scouts, as they're trying to talk with folks, don't put themselves in a situation where they could, get in danger. Making sure that they're close to the table, but at the same time being able to communicate and interact with folks that are coming in and out of the store. I think probably one of the biggest safety tips is as we talk about the take order or going door to door with folks, especially if you are going door to door in the neighborhood, is making sure that we follow the normal guide to safe scouting, or youth protection guideline type things, where guys go door to door with a buddy or go door to door with a parent, just to make sure that they don't, potentially put themselves in a spot where they could get in trouble. Making sure that they're very careful as they're crossing the street or going, if they're pulling a wagon along, just things to think about. So going over those safety items are important. I think the other part, as long as sort of tied with safety items, is definitely wearing a uniform. When we go out and sell popcorn, is people are more likely to answer the door or be polite, and when they see a Scout uniform, it gives us some legitimacy into what they're doing. So I think those are some important safety things. Some other things is just going over some courtesy points, is saying thank you for every order. If they're doing, if they're accepting cash, right on the spot from a show and sell transaction or from a take order transaction, and they've collected the money right up front, is counting out the change, and not to let popcorn unattended. One of the things that we run into, and we try to remind people about, is that chocolate melts. And some of our chocolate product out there, we let it sit out there in the sun, or it gets pulled in the wagon dragon on that beautiful Saturday, and by the time the customer gets it, it's a big just ball of chocolate. So it's just trying to think about some of those things and getting our Scouts to think about those things. And then the last part on this part of the meeting is to just distribute the order forms and sales brochures, and go through and say, this is what this is, and then be able to answer any questions. So that's really the major sort of components of or the agenda. So talking just a little bit more about the training, or giving the Scouts some information as far as what they need to do, it all goes into making it fun. So this would be the part of the meeting where they actually could maybe do some role plays or do some skits, and really the idea is to have fun, but at the same time teach the Scouts what to do. I think one of the most important things right off the bat is teaching the Scouts that, what are we selling? And probably if you ask any Scout out there, what are we selling? Oh, we're selling popcorn, or oh, we're selling candy. Well, it's really not. We're really selling Scouting. What we're What we're out there trying to do is ask people to help support a scout and what they're doing during the scouting year, and as a thank you for them doing that, we're giving them a candy or a popcorn product. So that's one of the things that it's taken a little bit to try to get people to think just about the product, but it's more than that. One of the things that's a fun activity to do is just sort of to go over and do some role playing about how do you actually make a sale. And one of the things, we've got this sort of generic script here, and I like to see it as from time to time, a leader walks up or leaders act out, what does it look like, or what the typical things that scouts do. They set up for a show and so, and everybody sits behind the table and waits for somebody to come up. Well, that's not really a great sales technique. If everybody's out in front of the table and being welcoming and introducing themselves and being friendly, they're more likely to get someone to buy the product. So the script goes very simply, hi, my name is, and the scout gives his name, and I'm a Cub Scout or I'm a Boy Scout with my pack or troop, and I'm selling popcorn so I can. And this is such an important part here, is to identify, what is it that they're selling popcorn for? So I can go to summer camp, or so that my pack's going on a trip to sleep on a battleship, and we're going to do that. Or my troop is going to the West Point Camporee, and I want to go do that. So to give a very clear, here's what I'm doing. For guys who are part of the scholarship program, sold $2,500 in the past, being able to say, hey, I'm selling popcorn, and I may be a Bear Scout, but I'm selling popcorn to earn money for a scholarship that's going to help pay for my college someday. And those are really impressive things to bring up as you're talking to people about the product. And it's good to share a goal. I have a goal of so many dollars, and this is what I want to do this year. And then just really trying to close it up and saying, can you help me reach my goal by trying some of my popcorn or trying some of my candy, and then asking people, will you help me? It's just bringing that sale and completing the sale. And if you think about it, that makes so much more sense. It's such a better technique than just saying, I want to buy some popcorn. And sometimes it's great to be able to visualize that. If you get a couple leaders that can do that, act that out, and then have the scouts do it, it can be a very powerful message, and they can see it. And I think they understand it better. As we go through, whatever your unit is going to do, it's good to maybe highlight that. If you're going to do show and sell, having a sample table set up with the product on it and what the show and sell should look like is a great idea the night of the kickoff. And then as people are coming in, they can kind of see, here's where I stand up, here's where I need to stand, here's how everything needs to be set up. It's a really nice idea and an effective way of giving a visual of here's how we do everything. Show and deliver. Being able to talk to folks is what's the best way. Whether you've got a wagon, here's the products that you should take in the wagon. If you had a wagon there that you could fill up with the product, so people could see, here's what we would take door to door. Or talking a little bit about with the show and deliver. What do you do if somebody says, hey, I'd really like that box of candy. Or if, hey, I'd really like that type of popcorn and we don't have it. What do they say? Hey, can they take order right there on the spot and say, hey, I'm going to bring this back in November? Or what? How is that unit going to handle that? So being able to talk through and demonstrate and practice those things is great. Doing take order. Take order in one sense is probably the simplest part. And probably a piece that we overlook and we don't think about. But having the guys practice, a lot of times our take orders are going to grandma or going to aunt and uncle and saying, hey, will you buy some popcorn? But there's a lot of different places that we can do take order, different ways that we can do take order, and just being able to talk about it and talk about what the products are, be familiar with the products. And the scouts should be able to talk about the products. Some units, what they do is the unit buys samples or buys a bag of some of the products that are being offered so that the guys can taste them. So when somebody says, well, what's your favorite popcorn? The scout can say, you know what, I really, really like the Unbelievable Butter, or you know what, the chocolate-covered popcorn is my favorite. And sometimes those are really nice things and good ways for the scouts to connect with the person who's potentially buying from them and to get a sale. The other thing is to be able to talk a little bit about the online sales and how they work, and be able to train the scouts into to what do I do? Do I, what kind of email do I send? What kind of communication do I want to send? Who do I want to send to? Who are some people who I could think about sending to place that order? So some easy things that the unit can do as part of the kickoff that don't have to be super time consuming. Could be done in a round robin, could be done in all one setting, it could be done a variety of different ways, and just to have a good fun time, but at the same time giving the scouts this information to go forward. So as far as the big pieces that I'm going to cover, those are really what I had planned to go over. There are some other resources out there. There's some resources on our website, on the Trails End website. On the council website, there's an example or some thoughts about a good kickoff and some visuals of what you could do. But those are just some ideas to share and sort of the process that we would recommend moving forward. If you've got any issues or questions after we're done today and want to run something past me, certainly can shoot me an email or give me a call here at the office, and we'd be happy to talk about it, or talking to the district colonel. So, but that's those were the prepared parts of the presentation that I've got. Joe, do you have any questions or anything like that, or anything you'd like me to talk about a little bit more, or any ideas that you'd like to throw out there?
Well, Chris, first, definitely want to thank you. This is my, second year of actually doing it the right way. We kind of had to pick up the ball last year from someone had departed us like the day before our kickoff. So the outline here is going to be very helpful, and I definitely agree. The fun part, if you get the kids engaged, you share the incentives, it definitely helps encourage them, and plus also just get them over that initial fear of going up and introducing themselves and trying to represent something is a great growth item for the scouts, I found last year. Because once we got them by that first couple of sales, they were much more eager, willing, and say, hey, we can do this. And especially at the award ceremony when we did have some prizes, and we did we didn't think it would go over too well, but we did we get to pie the Scoutmaster if you sold over 500. Well, we had quite a few scouts that were able to hit that 500.
Yeah.
And
cool.
Since everyone did so well, we actually made some real little pies and let all the scouts have one shot at the Scoutmaster. So
that's awesome.
They definitely did enjoy that interaction.
Yeah. Well, I think you're right on. That, and I didn't really talk about it, but you hit it. Man, is the scouts get there to that show and sell or that take order and are really nervous about what to do, and then you have. You get out there and you get them encouraged, and they get going, and they start asking those first couple people, and then somebody says yes, and then, man, it becomes fun, it becomes exciting, and you're absolutely right. That's part of trying to get that training and that experience is to help them get comfortable a little bit quicker. So, yeah, that's great.
And I know one thing that helped us a lot. My son did, over the last couple of years from me more or less helping him do it to a standpoint where I was trying to keep up with him in the development. We actually made just like little thank you cards that we handed out just to say, hey, here's who I am. If you have any questions, if you'd like to reorder, or here we are. And it's surprising. I actually had a lot of people this year so far even ask me, is like, hey, when are you doing it again? Which I thought was at least left a nice impression on people. So especially for the newer scouts, because I found it so much easier to go back to the homes that we know were receptive. You almost know you have a sale instead of going up to people you don't know the first time and saying, hey, this is who we are and nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Like some popcorn.
Yeah, that's an awesome idea. Being able to give that thank you, and being able to introduce, hey, here's who I am, and have that repeat sale. I think sometimes, we don't think about popcorn necessarily as being a business, but it's kind of the same way as business works. Is you want those repeat customers year after year, and if you don't go back and ask them again, they're not gonna buy again. But if you go back and ask, those folks who bought this year are most likely going to buy next year, and having a way to get them in contact with you or keep them in contact with you, that's fantastic. That's a great idea.
And I know one thing that helped us towards the end of the year, definitely communicating the dates frequently and consistently helped a lot, because thankfully we were able to get back a lot of the I guess you could say, surplus popcorn,
Right.
which will at least allow us, because we actually have most of our show and sales later in October, really to help us, because we figure there's a lot of packs out there that already have their tent set up at the retail stores. We found out the last 2 years. Even this year we're running into the same thing. But
Right.
we have a lot of our retail show and sales in October. So once the scouts at least do the initial, hey, it's still light enough at night, they go out, they make the the neighborhood sales, we get our popcorn back, and then at least we have some opportunities to hopefully sell as much of the remaining popcorn or return popcorn at the retail stores.
Right.
We found that to be pretty helpful.
That's a great strategy.
I'm just trying to go over some of the other items we have. But, yeah, definitely the courtesy is a key thing, because I had many houses where I saw that, initially they were kind of no, but kids were saying, well, thank you for listening. And sometimes people would actually then stop and say, hey, wait a minute, let me take a look at that again. I saw that over and over, which was, definitely something I stress for our scouts is like, at least leave a good impression. If not, they might want to keep talking if you are polite about it. So.
Absolutely.
But, yeah, we're definitely trying the popcorn machine this year. We're probably going to do like a popcorn skit night.
Yeah.
Actually, I think I have it on the 15th. I think hopefully the first Monday after the popcorn distribution, we're going to try that.
Nice.
Definitely the goals help. Let's see, there's a couple other things here that we didn't do. Trying to find that. Yeah, definitely the games hand-on at the kickoff. That's something we definitely need to try. We didn't do that last year. But, yeah, definitely safety at night, especially the newer scouts. I know we do try to organize a few neighborhood sales. We have a couple of neighborhoods where we don't have any scouts living that are in our I guess, area, for lack of a better word, just to get them to make sure they're safety. That's something you got to stress. I know that from experience, just, flashlights, walking the right side of the road, staying on the sidewalk, staying off the road the best you can if there's nowhere to walk safely. Well, I shouldn't say it that way. Making sure we're going areas where they can walk safely is more the point there. But,
right.
But yeah, definitely that's it. I mean, definitely I agree with the chocolate products. I mean, keeping that in a cooler, whether you're walking around or having it at a retail store, really helps.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing also, I know we have we use a website called Scoutlander just to keep sending information out to our group.
Right.
But we also send out, when we go around, if we see some scouts or families, we actually hand out our brochure if they're more interested, like, who are you, what do you do during the year? And I found that a lot of people are more willing to at least have more interaction with the scouts and ask them about, hey, notice you were going to Washington, what are you looking for to do? That's also a nice icebreaker I've noticed for some of the scouts, especially at the retail stores. We just put up like a little poster board with what we're doing or what we have done, and because I know we have a big event down this year. We're going down to Washington at the One Chantilly Aerospace Museum, which is part of the Smithsonian, and that's something we're pushing. It's like, hey, help us pay for this. It's a great way to at least get some attention, or at least get people to say, hey, we have somebody that might be interested in joining. It's a nice recruiting kind of tandem with the popcorn sale.
Yeah, that's a great point, Joe. I think you guys are definitely taking advantage of that. That's fantastic. You want to be able to share that information out there, and I think you're right. It's a great icebreaker. It gives everybody a goal. Here's what we're doing. Here's what we're it's not we're just out here selling it. This is what we're going to do, and it gets other families that may come by that aren't involved in scouting thinking, wow, this sounds like a real exciting program, and it sounds like a really neat opportunity. So maybe I'll buy some popcorn, and maybe I'm going to sign up and see how I can go and do that too. So that's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, definitely trying to lay the groundwork for the future for us.
Absolutely. So.
Okay. Well, that looks like all the notes I wrote down your presentation was very good. I mean, thank you. That's because I was trying to lay this out this weekend a little bit, what I'm going to do, but you helped greatly, so I thank you for your time with this.
Hey, no problem, Joe. Thanks for joining me today, and I hope everything goes well, and if you guys need anything, just give us a call, and we'll go from there. So.
Okay. Definitely appreciate that.
Okay. All right. Well, sounds good, Joe. So if there's nothing else, then I'll let you get back to your day, and then we'll catch up on the next webinar, or we'll see you around. So.
All right.